Hi, desktop publishers. I'm here for a recap of your Much Ado About Nothing assignment. The first thing I want to say is you guys did a great job. This is a hard assignment. When just starting with version 1 with just the text and the type is really tough. And I think that you guys were really able to establish a solid layout. And then I think it's also really important to go from version 1 to version 2 to see the impact that shapes and lines really can have in helping us establish hierarchy. Now, one thing some of us disagreed on was what was the most important information. Obviously the title. Some people thought the date would be next, and I disagree. I think that the student ticket price is really the most important thing after the title, because you have to really convince somebody that they can afford to go. And then also the quote, I think, is super important because it helps reinforce this idea that it's young, modern, fun cast. It's not like some stodgy, old-time theater production. So I think that those are really important elements. So I think once you have those in your mind, you're going to see, okay, can I go? Like, what's the date? And then you would check the date. Some of you really need to move the Wilma Theater information out of the center. You don't need that in your center layout. You should probably go on the bottom. But one thing I wanted to give you a couple of ideas to play around with for revision. The one thing would be to play with the type in the words. And so here, this student did Much Ado, very big, obviously playing on the idea like we're making a big deal here about nothing. And the about nothing is really small. And so I think it's really a fun way to get across that, hey, first of all, this is fun. We're not taking ourselves too seriously. And it just really works for hierarchy. You just cannot not look there, right? With the about nothing here. I mean, you are just sucked right there. And I think that's really effective. Let me show you what another student did, kind of along the same lines. This student actually did the reverse of the previous and had Much Ado, and then the nothing was made big. And I like that. Again, it's playful. It kind of playing with our sort of understanding of reversing how we would maybe see the words. And you really, really can't help but look at that nothing. Right now here, the student discount with ID. I think that this typographical furniture would have been a little bit more effective if it was just the student discount that was in here and the regular ticket price wasn't, and that maybe there was even a little bit more contrast or something with the color, maybe black. But anyway, I thought that this was really well done. And also here on the bottom, I think that this is a really nice way to lay out information like this using these lines. And when you use that, it's called dingbats. And I think that's a really effective, nice layout. I think we have the quote up here, which maybe gets a little lost, but I think that it still really works, and the colors are really vibrant. And one more. Okay, if you're feeling adventurous, you might want to try to play with the orientation of some of the information in the layout. So what this student did here is very bold, I have to say, very, very, very bold. And I think it's really effective. I think she was very playful with the Much Ado About Nothing being in the middle of the Shakespeare. I think it's very fun, very clever. I like how she put the starring Ben Kunis and all of that down there, because again, that just isn't really that important if we don't know who the people are. And we're also going to have that lesson in the flyer that we're going to save this week. You'll see about that. So, and I think that when you play with the orientation this way, I think it really can have a very stunning result. The other thing I love about this is the student ID, the student price is just it just pops out. And I think that this is such a great use of like one really bold color, like coming in for contrast. And this is like really well done. And the one thing that I would say is that color is really, really important here. And I think it's really important to keep in mind to our audiences, again, young college students. So some of the more neutral colors, I think might fit with like a sort of a theater, sort of, more of like a Shakespeare vibe. But that what we're going for is, though, getting people interested to come, and we have to really catch their attention. And so for this audience, I think the bright is really a better way to go. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Feel free to experiment, change, stick with your design, try different colors, post that to the peer review. You'll do the peer review on the hierarchy, and of course the key points are making the title stand out, making the quote stand out, and that student ID. I really want to see that really pop. You don't have to, you can have it at the top, you can have it at the bottom, you can have it in the middle, but it should really stand out. Sometimes I think it works to do something like this where it's completely separate. Sometimes I think it's fine to keep it with the other proximity information, but really somehow make it pop out, okay? And that really the other grading issues would be that you wouldn't have, like a typo or something like that. So again, I really feel like this is a project that everybody's really going to do very well on, okay? So I'm looking forward to see what you do, and I will see you on the discussion board.